doing live. We're here to chat about all sorts of things hobby related, mostly talking about Kill Team. I'm here with my brother Eric and our friend who goes by Modern Synthesist on Instagram, or Mr. Pink, or Nick, whatever. Nice to have you here, Nick. We're excited to talk with you all about your recent endeavors into Kill Team and your cool Tyranid monstrosities you're working on.
I am so excited to be here as well.
Yeah, nice
no, seriously, thanks for asking me on, guys. No, I'm really excited to be here, and it came out of left field, but I'm seriously jazzed about Kill Team. I did not expect that to happen. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you.
It is interesting, because, we already kind of recorded an episode about this a little while back about speculating on stuff, so I figured I would generally be excited about it, because I actually played some of the previous edition and whatnot, but it's very easy for me to be somewhat excited about something, maybe even buy some of it, and then just completely crash and not do anything.
Yeah, I think you're describing most hobbyists, but sure.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But something about this, and in a weird way, the fact that the rules are sort of restrictive, and like Space Marines don't really get much options other than just buy your favorite box, ultimately made it easier for me, because I was already painting some Dark Angels, and it was like the perfect opportunity. Like, well, just paint the rest of them, and like you actually have a fully painted thing. Like, I've almost never had that.
I come from a slightly different angle in that. So I got kind of jazzed about the former edition of Kill Team. I didn't know a ton about it, but I had played Shadow War Armageddon, which was like the kind of rushed necromundification of 40k rules, which I think turned out pretty well. Like I actually played some games of that, and I loved it. So when I was thinking about, I had a friend who was interested in playing 40k, but I didn't want to get him into like real 40k. I was like, oh, let's play, like, maybe we'll play Kill Team. And then I went and I bought the rule book, like the digital rule book, and I started looking at it. And what I really liked about Shadow War Armageddon was that it took I think I liked the stuff that it took from Necromunda. So like the progression and like evolution of your characters, and like, I don't know. But when I looked at the Kill Team book,
pure Necromunda here.
Yeah, like when I looked at the Kill Team book, I was like reading the digital copy. I'm like, this is just 40k. Like it felt like not much modifications on the 40k rules. And then they like released like Kill Team Elites, and then I was just waiting for them to release Kill Team Super Heavies, and it's like, this is just 40k.
Yeah.
So I was a little cold on Kill Team coming into this, but people were talking it's going to be more like, I've not played Warcry, but I've heard good things about Warcry and how it simplifies things. So I heard it was going to be like that, so I got kind of excited. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked that they changed the rules, and they seem to have simplified a lot of stuff. I actually bought the core book and the compendium like the weekend they came out. So I was super jazzed.
Couldn't buy it digitally.
Actually, we're gonna probably talk more at length about this. Maybe we hold off a little bit, because I realize
we're not doing the podcast stuff yet, right?
Yeah, and I realize this is veering pretty close into.
Well, I guess before
so excited, Eric.
Kill Team.
Before we get into that, we can talk. I guess we can briefly talk about what we're working on, each of us. The hobby happening section. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but I can briefly say I've been working on the Orc Knob from the Kill Team game, and
Kill Team.
Kill Team.
He's surprisingly cool. Like, I don't really think there's too much modification that I need to make on the model.
He's even standing on a rock, and he's cool.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty remarkable. But so I cut off a few of like the dumb details on the model. And
so what did you modify, Adam? You sent us a picture, but I didn't really notice what you'd modified because it looked pretty intact.
Yeah, so far, on the top of his backpack, he had some stupid stick bomb that like was strapped to the top of his backpack in a way that like didn't make any sense. So like I cut that off. I trimmed down some of the bullshit on his boots. make them not look quite as big. And
Yeah.
then the main thing that I've been working on is converting and making his pistol smaller. And so you can vaguely see some of the effort on that on the model right now. I trimmed down a lot of the stuff, and I have to replace the barrel of what it's like currently. And I have to add like some sights and like a little hammer and all sorts of other little details for his pistol. And you can't really see it now very well, but the pistol is going to kind of look like a German broom handle Mauser pistol. And they're sort of interesting in that they don't have like a magazine like a lot of pistols, where like in this case there's a place where you have a clip, as they call them, where you push a whole clip of bullets into the top of the weapon. So if you'd rotate this pistol, I have like I drilled in a little slot where you slide in some more rounds into the pistol. And so there are a lot of fun little details that I think to people who kind of have a sense of what some of these weapons and stuff are, I think they'll get a kick out of it. And
having said that, like if people aren't aware of like a broom-handled Mauser, like they base Han Solo's blaster is just a broom-handled Mauser.
Okay.
Like, because most of or a lot of
the
Star Wars weaponry were just
slightly
World
modified
War II weapons.
Mainly even
what
German
was the Stormtrooper blaster?
That is actually more of a thing that they made.
That is like a combination of a bunch of bullshit. But like a lot of like the heavy laser rifles and stuff were just like German MG42s or German MG34s, where it just like maybe they change like the flash suppressor or whatever and make it bigger, or like so like this stuff was, but it's very recognizable if you spent any time looking at some like World War II era like weaponry and stuff. But I was sort of excited about that because a lot of the orc stuff, at least from the second edition of 40K, they had a lot of like German military vibes and stuff to them. So like that, this is kind of a nod towards that.
Because this model, I feel all of these models, this kill team was kind of, they were sort of a nod back to those second edition designs with the blood axes and the hats and whatnot. So yeah, it seemed like a fun way to like kind of dial that in even a little bit more.
Yeah, but yeah, so they're fun. So that's what I've been working on. I think probably sometime next week he'll largely be done, and I'll have more pictures so you can kind of get a sense of where he's going.
Nice. Are you going to do any modifications to his combat weapons?
Probably not a whole lot. Like I think his power claws surprisingly tame for like an orc weapon.
I really like it.
And it's also it's actually different from your standard orc power claw. Like the lower claws or whatever are actually kind of interesting and weird. So it's like I'm very impressed. And his feet aren't even that big either. Like GW love to make big feeted orcs, and his aren't really that bad. And his head's cool.
I was gonna say that when you initially were sending pictures of the modified slugger or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but you sent like the unmodified one, and then you sent your modified one, and I looked at the one, and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks smaller than a normal orc gun, and I'm like, oh wait, that's like new out of the box. So maybe that's an indication that the weapons are like, I mean, they're orc weapons, they're always going to be big, but they're slightly better scaled.
Yeah, I mean, even this one
a little better.
His actual pistol is probably, at least the one you see now on this modified one, it's maybe like maybe around half the size of it, but of like the original. So I mean, I did make it quite a bit smaller, but even if you wouldn't modify his pistol, it doesn't really look too out of place, and compared to the size of the orc itself, it's not terrible. So it's like a much better
Okay.
effort on Games Workshop's part than most of the stuff. Like for instance, he has a chain. You can also give him a chain axe, and
Yeah.
that chain axe, I feel, it's thinner than the chain axes and stuff that the original plastic orc boys had. And this is an axe for this knob, so it's like they scaled the stuff better, and I think part of that was just to have them in slightly more dynamic and interesting poses. They just wouldn't look right if the weapons were their traditional Games Workshop sizes. So, like, I think who was sculpting them sort of realized that and took it upon themselves to make them look better.
Nice.
I guess Eric looks like he stepped away for a second, so maybe I know you've been putting a lot of effort into converting a Tyranid kill team, which I think we'll talk a little bit more about it in the podcast, but I'd like to hear a little bit about them now. And you've certainly talked about them on your YouTube channel a little bit. Like you had one of the videos you were kind of walking through how someone could make their own like bipedal Tyranid gaunts.
Yeah. So I for a while I've had this idea in the back of my head to make an upright gaunt, like one that looks more bipedal rather than quadrupedal. And I can't say that I invented the idea because way back Warp Shadow days, like 2006 or something, there was someone on Warp Shadow, I think his name was Barbarous Bob, and he converted some upright gaunts, and they looked pretty cool. Like I don't remember the pictures being that great, but I remember it sticking in my head. And like, you know, 15 years later, I'm like, hey, what about that bipedal gaunt idea? So I literally, Adam, we were talking about how when we work from home, our model workspace and our day job workspace are dangerously close to each other. So I may have been on a boring meeting and I may have just been messing around with a gaunt. And I was like, well, you know, I'm going to chop the legs off this thing and I'm going to see if I can make him stand up and like chop his tail off. And honestly, I did it as like a proof of concept. Like I'm not great at sketching, so I'd rather just get a model and modify it to kind of like get a sketch for what I'm looking for. And just like kind of extensive pinning just to get the legs right. But honestly, that one proof of concept model, it just blew me away. Like what it did to the gaunt profile. And it was on the back of just that. Yeah, the best comment I've heard about it, someone on Instagram posted, I wish I could remember exactly who, but they said that before, gaunts were white noise. But when you convert them to be upright like this, they look less like something that's just like copy and pasted in the background and more like an actual model with agency.
That's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, from that, I was so inspired by that one guy that I was just like, I got to make a buttload more of these. So I made, I think, four or five upright gaunts. And I've also been recently working on Gene Stealers to join the kill team. So I was kind of stuck in that I was like, oh man, I want to make some cool, like interesting Gene Stealers to go with the gaunts in this kill team. But like, what am I going to use? And literally, like, my hybrid Orc Gene Stealer, my hybrid Eldar Gene Stealer that I did years ago and have never done anything with, were just sitting on my desk staring at me. I'm like, oh, maybe you guys could be my cool Gene Stealers for this squad.
Yeah, I think that works really well for that.
Yeah, so I've kind of, from that, I've started doing a Kroot Gene Stealer hybrid and an Enslaver Gene Stealer hybrid, and then a lictor, like a baby lictor to lead them. So I've been working on all that stuff recently. And I just, the other night, put my first kind of base coat on a couple of members of the squad, and I'm getting pretty jazzed.
Yeah, no, they're really coming together, and it's always nice to see some paint on the stuff, or even just a prime to like really unify everything and see the vision without like the different colors and things like that, because it just sort of coalesces into a...
Yeah, I feel like I underestimate how jarring that can be to see like a model that's like pinned and like puttied and like slapped together with all these different bits. Like I'm like I'm so guilty for like, I get really excited about an idea for a project and I'll like post this like ratty ass bits with pins sticking out. I'd be like, guys, this is gonna be amazing. Doesn't this look great? And people are like, I have no idea where you're going with this.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
where
on your Instagram, you have a little post of the Kroot Gene Stealer, and with all the pins and stuff, and he does look good. Like, I'm excited.
He's further along. Yeah, he's a better sketch than most. Like,
Yeah, okay.
I remember when I did this like Cthulhu character. I don't know how to pronounce it. Nyarlathotep, the like tentacly one.
Yeah.
Someone asked me to do one of those for them as like a brood lord, and I started that, and it was literally just like wiggly wires with a creepy mouth on it and some tentacles. I was like, "Hey guys, cool!" And people were like, "What the hell am I looking at?"
It turned into something very cool. I love the little baby lictor, like his like little claws in front of him, like his little like finger like claws, like fucking rad.
Thanks. Yeah, I can't take full credit for that because it was inspired by someone on Instagram, High Fleet Bargaste.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want, like, people tell me that I'm doing interesting and different things with Tyranids and making them look like differently evolved. But honestly, I ain't got shit on High Fleet Bargaste. Like, if you're not following him, you should definitely follow him because he does all kinds of stuff. Like, he did like weird little rippers and like he did this one. I think it was supposed to be like an avian Tyranid. And I think it had a jetpack, but it was very, very thin and like almost like stick-like, which kind of made sense because it's supposed to fly. It's got to be light.
Yeah.
And just like bottomless fount ideas for cool Tyranid models. So Bargaze did a weird lictor that was very like thin and had those creepy claws out front. It had kind of the creepy skull face.
Yeah, damn, this stuff is really cool.
I 100% fully stole the beginnings of the lictor from High Fleet Bargaze. And I let him know I was doing it, and he shows up on our stream all the time. He's also like got an encyclopedic knowledge of Tyranid fluff, which is pretty amazing. I guess that helps when you're making cool Tyranids. Yeah, but I'm really happy with that guy. I'm really excited about where he's going, and I feel really stupid that I never thought about putting bloodletter legs on a Tyranid, because bloodletter legs are one of the coolest Xenos bits Games Workshop has ever produced. And if you want to make a weird Xenos, just put whatever torso and whatever head you want on bloodletter legs, and it'll work.
Well, I mean,
that's
Brian
an interesting point. Like, yeah.
Oh, did Brian Nelson do the bloodletters?
Either that or pretty sure it was Brian Nelson or just.
I think it was.
I thought it was Brian Nelson. Like, obviously, we know Games Workshop does not do a good job of crediting their artists. This was very well showcased this weekend with the new Hell.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and not like we're not going to credit this little artist who you've never heard of, like Mark Gibbons. Like, what the hell? He's like,
so for viewers and stuff, if you didn't hear about this or notice this, I think it was over the weekend, they showed a new model of the Black Templar.
I think it was Monday.
Marshal.
It was Monday.
Helbricht. And if anyone saw the model, probably most of you, if you've been in the hobby for a while, you realize they largely just sculpted a version of an illustration of Helbricht, of the model that Mark Gibbons had done a long time ago. And on the community site, they decided they were actually going to show the iconic piece of artwork, which was a nice touch. Like, if you hadn't seen it before, it's cool, like, you should see it. And like, if it's a remarkable piece of artwork, really, because it's also it's referencing the 2nd edition Orc Codex cover, where there's like the Orc War Boss and the Stompa in the background. Well, this is referencing that, but they've fucking destroyed the Stompa and they've killed the Orc Dob dude. So like, I'm pretty certain it's just kind of parodying that. And so he's just defeated that Orc Warband, and like, it's a cool, iconic piece of artwork. And Games Workshop, in their infinite wisdom, decided.
Not only didn't they credit the artist,
they
in the text,
in the bottom corner, he has MG, his like signature there. They actually,
which is iconic. If you've ever seen his art, it's iconic. You know that.
Well, they blackened that out And obviously, people noticed it immediately. It was one of the first things I noticed seeing it. It's like, oh, they removed that. And it's like, what the fuck, Games Workshop? And so people were obviously upset. Like, they noticed immediately. And I guess Games Workshop actually heard. And they've now corrected it. So now they have the image up there with his signature.
I feel like, Eric, do you spend more time on Warhammer Twitter? Because I spend too much time on Warhammer Twitter.
Like,
and do you know why they did it? Like, who called them out?
Graham McNeil called them out personally.
Graham fucking McNeil called you out.
That's
like tagged Warhammer community and like said like basically, what the fuck, guys. I mean, he didn't say it in those words, but
but it's like, I feel like, I don't know, I guess maybe Graham McNeil's not working with Games Workshop anymore. I can't keep track of this stuff, but I feel like anyone who works with Games Workshop is usually pretty like kumbaya, happy, shiny, like doesn't go against them, doesn't criticize them. But like when I saw that it was Graham McNeil posting about this, I'm like, oh man, you guys are really fucked up if Graham McNeil is pointing out your flaws.
A lot of their Black Library writers, since they're kind of off, almost, or most of them do other things, like Dan Abnett as well. Like I feel they're like they all have their own other jobs. Like at least Graham McNeil used to be working for Riot Games, maybe he still is.
Yeah.
I feel it's because they have other jobs, and it's just like they work with the Black Library because they're good, and they had such an iconic and important, I don't know, influence on the Black Library. They're still allowed to do it. So I suspect it's that separation that has allowed it.
Yeah.
So if people are... I was going
to say that when that article went up, I was actually looking for the artist because I didn't recognize Space Marines. I didn't recognize that. Had they put up the picture that Graham McNeil did of the like tyrannic war veteran Ultramarine with the like Tyranid skull on the like pole with the IV things going, I would be like, okay, gotcha, Mark Gibbons. But I didn't recognize it, so I was looking in the text and I was like, oh, which artist is this? And I'm like, that's weird, they didn't name the artist. So they went back, they revised it, they put the signature back on the picture in the article now, but they still didn't put the artist's name in the text. And someone on Twitter pointed out that when they showed a picture from John Blanche, they made sure to say that it was a John Blanche picture. Like, why not Mark Gibbons?
They're just fucking horrible about it. And over the years, it's changed drastically. Like, in all of the... Back when, like, Karl Kopinski and stuff was doing art and such, in the front of all their codexes, they actually would list all of the artists who, like, did artwork for the book. They didn't actually tell you specifically who did what piece, but they at least listed them all. And I remember years ago, they changed that and just say, like, Warhammer, like, art team or whatever. That's what it's, some bullshit like that. I remember we've complained about it for years. And then the same thing's true with the sculptors. Like, for a long time, Forge World was the only one who would still list who sculpted all of their stuff. And then a few years ago, they changed that as well. So it's like that.
I mean, some of the stuff for GW, because a bunch of the kits now are actually a group of people doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, like just to work with someone else.
But even still, like...
I mean, sometimes...
But like those artists will go on Instagram and they'll be like, hey, look at this model for Forge World.
Like,
so, like...
This.
So they could easily do it, and they should do it.
Well, actually, everybody...
but it was...
Just a quick thing, like, I brought up a picture of a shitty picture, mind you, of the 2nd edition Orc Codex, but you can tell, like, there's the, like, Skargant or Stompa in the background, and, like, the Orc just kind of, like, standing there, which I think that is supposed to be Gazkall, like, an older version of him.
The old metal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
standing on a Dark Angel.
Yeah.
I love that Gazkall. That's such a good picture.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it's funny, people have been using the little surf dude cleaning the blade.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, and like the best was I think it was what's his name?
Ex Profundus, like Jake.
Yes.
He
Jake.
Almost immediately when the model was released, he tweeted like, "Hey, here's just the little guy. Like what? Like putting it out there. Here, internet, use this on stuff." And it was like immediately someone then photoshopped the little guy onto the picture, like rubbing away the signature.
Oh yeah,
Hilarious.
that was the best. Yeah, where they had it removing the mark of the signature.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess at least they added it back, but like, gosh, just that means literally they had someone on one of their teams or something go in and do that.
I'm actually wondering if they may have scrubbed their art in general. Like,
yeah,
and we may not have noticed that. Like, they've just generally scrubbed it.
I mean, I think they probably have. But like,
they've done it with a lot of their artwork over the years. They'll like particularly for some of the Dark Angels artwork, they would like literally like, oh, we made a new unit, like let's go in and like Photoshop this picture to look like that new unit and like make it worse. Like if I were the artist, like that's so dumb and just bad form.
I would like to think they got the same artist to do the modifications, but almost certainly not, based on how some of the changes that were made.
One by like Ravenwing picture, like Paul Dainton did not do that change.
Yeah.
If he did, it was just like, hey Paul, like will you do this? Like you have 10 minutes.
You have 15 minutes.
Like, maybe that, but
I was just looking up Helbrecht because I don't really care about Dark Templars, other than I think the Emperor's Champion, the original model, was really cool.
It's Black Templars. The Dark Templar are a fan-made chapter.
No, the Dark Templars are StarCraft. Sorry, Black Templars. Yeah. I just looked up the original Helbrecht model, and I don't hate that model. Like
it's
the old
okay.
Pewter / Frankenstein.
It's really not that bad.
The Grimaldus model is horrible.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Or
it's
maybe
bad.
That's not his name. Their special chaplain or whatever. The model for that is
that sounds right.
Ridiculously bad. But this new model for the High Marshal Helbrecht, it's pretty good. I feel it's the nicest of the
Templar models.
Black Templar models.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
That was a bit of a derivation from what we were working on.
Yeah, so like Games Workshop, you can do better. Start crediting your artists. Like for a company, you'd think they would want to celebrate the art of all the different artists involved.
The sculptors and
like they do a terrible job with that.
The devil's advocate thing is that there was a time when they were publishing this stuff regularly, and there was like cults came up. Like everyone loved Juan Diaz's stuff, but like maybe people were like shitting on other artists because like I know what they were doing.
Matt Ward, people always say like, oh, they stopped putting in some of the names because everyone hated what Matt Ward did to like the Necrons and the Blood Angels and the Grey Knights and whatnot. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I feel that's probably not the whole reason. It may have played a small part though.
I guess the good thing is that now they do like, well, at least they're not doing them now, but for a while there, they were doing those Vox casts where like they would get like Darren Latham and like Jess Goodwin on to like talk about their work on like the AdMech. And that's a cool feature that they didn't do before. So that gives a little bit of, but I guess there's smaller artists that don't get that.
In some of the, I don't know if it's true now. It might not be because I don't look at the White Dwarf magazines really anymore. But for a while, they would actually have some of the information about the artists and sculptors and stuff written in the magazines, like nowhere else. But like it would tell you who sculpted what or the people who worked on sculpting the models. So it's possible they're still doing a little of that. Hopefully they are, but I think in general, the more, particularly for some of like the illustrators and like the sculptors and stuff, like I think getting more exposure to them would be nice because for the most part, this is very much a hobby where it's trying to celebrate people doing their own unique takes and spins and like art in general. So it's like I think that would be a very positive thing
But
if
for the bottom, this is a publicly traded company. For the bottom line, that doesn't really matter.
yeah.
They
I
just
don't give a
need
shit. All
to
they need to
release
do is
more
make sure that
stuff.
everyone knows when John Blanche does something, so that all the John Blanche nutcases can go and buy 1,000 of them.
But like, and the funny thing is, like, if there's one iconically obvious artist in for Games Workshop, it is John's work.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell his work over like almost anything. Whereas like
But
some
once
of the
he
other
gets
artists,
mentioned, and no one else gets mentioned.
yeah,
But I think
it's dumb.
what I would say is though John Blanche, like he has a very wide range of styles, and like I think some of his earlier work people wouldn't recognize was Blanche because like a lot of the earlier editions of Warhammer 40,000, like he painted a lot of the covers to those editions and stuff, and the style is very different from his kind of more like
Did he do second edition?
Yes.
with the
Second
blood
edition box?
yeah
Yeah, he
of
did
course.
the
Oh, okay.
Epic. He did the Epic, like the
I
newer
know he
version
did
of
third
Epic.
edition because that's the more obvious one, but I didn't know that. He did
Yeah, but
Yeah,
an
so-
Epic with
so-
the orcs and the blood angels on that too. He did
Yeah.
that.
So like his style can vary a lot, but I think most people when they think about his style, they think kind of more of the
The wispy sepia toned.
Yeah.
The grim and messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think we've talked about a lot of this. We should probably get into the podcast.
What about Eric?
Oh,
Eric, what are you
yeah.
working on?
Yeah. And I'll probably honestly mention this on the podcast a little bit, but I virtually completed painting a Dark Angels kill team.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
And there's a few more details I want to do and whatnot, but they're basically done. I mean, these were converted probably in 2017 or something, like right when the Primaris were released, and I just wanted to do some very minor conversions, like replace the bolters, the backpacks, cut off the knee fins, like just do that stuff that didn't really require any technical work or real skill, just to see like how easy is it to make quote unquote true scale marine.
You also added sights to the weapons too.
Yeah.
Sights.
So I did that, and then just they sat gray for years. And they were actually the models that I would use for playing the old edition of Kill Team. But
nice.
I decided like I should start to try to paint them since Kill Team's being re-released and yada yada. And yeah, I actually did it. And because of Kill Team's somewhat restrictive list building rules, like it made it super easy. Like I didn't even have to worry about, I don't have a special weapon and stuff like that. So
wait, did you replace their backpacks with the old backpacks?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Because they're better. They're a little smaller.
Oh shit, that's cool. Because I recognize the bolters because I've long thought that they'd look way better with small bolters.
I use the Tigris bolters because I think they're the best, or one of the better of them. Like the magazines, their bolt releases are more logical. The ejection ports in line with the barrel. Like there are a lot of little things that I just felt they look, and they also look maybe a little more compact. So I felt, since I didn't want to again do like an advanced conversion thing, I chose basically the best, or in my opinion, the best looking bolter, and added sights to it, and that's it.
Nice. They look great.
Yo, thanks, Dave, for the comment. Yeah, like the little emblems on their knee pad was a more recent addition based on Adam's sort of suggestion, which was a nice way to add a little bit of individuality and color to the models. So
also like break up their legs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dark Angels, in addition to the green, like red is another color that's very synonymous with them. And like I felt the little knee pads is like another way, because you could sometimes they paint like the casings of the bolters red as well, and so that's an easy way to get red in there. But I think that when you go and do that, then they start looking a little more cartoon-like and very reminiscent of like second edition 40k. So the red, the little bit of red, and like the knee pads and stuff, I think is kind of a nice way to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been working on, as well as just trimming and assembling the terrain for Kill Team, which has taken a long time.
All them mold lines.
Yeah, lots and lots of mold lines.
Can't get away from them.
Nope. But it's fine. It's fine.
Well, so what does everyone say? Do we want to get into like recording the podcast portion of the stream?
Yeah. Yeah, and talk more about Kill Team. Yeah, I'm ready. If everyone's ready, I'm gonna start this.
Yeah. Start away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dragged into Turbolasers, a Between the Bolter and Me podcast. This is episode 88, and I'm your host, Eric Wire, and I'm here with my brother, Adam Wire.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm excited, our friend, Modern Synthesis, or Mr. Pink, is here with us as well. Hey, Mr. Pink.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. As people may or may not know, Mr. Pink or Modern Synthesist has a great YouTube channel that has a bunch of sculpting videos, as well as his Instagram account is filled with awesome Kroot and Tyrannid and Gene Stealer cult monstrosities that people should certainly check out. But recently, as I'm sure everyone knows, Kill Team, the new edition, has been released. It's been, I guess, a few weeks since that release date, and we still have maintained a bunch of excitement about it. And looking on Modern Synthesis Instagram account, it's pretty clear that he was as well. So I thought it would be fun to just sort of get him on here so we could talk a little bit about it and what he's excited about and, you know, what he's doing with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really jazzed. So I can't wait to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, no, I think there was a lot of build up for Kill Team just with their incrementally showing rules and such, and then when they finally released everything and like the review embargo was lifted, there was some, I don't know, gnashing of teeth, learning that, oh, like the Kill Team list generation is really weak and reduced, and I feel some people kind of fell off the wagon there. But I've never been super concerned about rules, so I figured regardless, I was just going to convert, paint models, and it seems that's kind of what you've been doing, Nick, with the models here. Does that sound about right for you?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a chicken and egg. I don't know if I wanted to make a Kill Team and then I made some cool Tyranids, but I think I made some cool Tyranids and then I was like, maybe this could be a Kill Team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
honestly, the Dark Angels that I've been painting, like, I had started painting them just because of seeing some, like, YouTube videos about different methods of painting Space Marines. It was like, I haven't painted a Dark Angel despite, like, that's kind of my chapter. Like, I might as well do this. And then it took long enough that it dawned on me, like, well, wait a minute, like, I should just paint some more. It'll probably be good for Kill Team, and maybe that will kind of continue to generate excitement and push me to actually play, maybe paint some terrain, things like that. So maybe I'm sort of in a similar mindset that they've probably been a little bit intertwined, but
yeah. Oh, you talk about paint some terrain. I recently went on a terrain buying spree. It's a bit dangerous. It was like, not only do I want to play Kill Team, I want to make like a whole board, and I need to buy all this terrain.
Yeah, it looks like you did acquire a lot, and you a little while ago you had a hot hobby tip to use a chisel scalpel blade, and that's actually a good idea for removing some of like the mold lines and other like unwanted things for some of the like square pieces.
Yep.
Yeah, because
and
it
also
can
just
be
like
slow.
if you have a flat, a flat piece. I think I posted that tip because I was busting out Dungeons and Lasers stuff from Avatar Archon Studios. I don't know, but a lot of those, it's like there's a flat line of like a flooring piece, and the way the sprue attaches to it is just like a flat seam. So you just line up the chisel blade with that, you just push down, and it's really easy way to get a clean cut.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I feel there's a lot that he could do for getting ready for Kill Team, but the fact that it's a lower model count helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like recently I've been working on a bunch of models for like to kind of go along with the Red Church, like religious emperor organization or whatever that we made a number of years ago for the One Pilgrim event. And so I've been over the past few months making a bunch of interesting models that kind of go along with
Was that like your halfling dude?
Yeah,
your
the
halfling dude with the autogun?
Dude with the shotgun and whatnot. And so like I've been working on those, and like I feel I'll probably just end up using them for a Kill Team as well. I'll just look through the different rules, the different rule sets, and find one that sort of works with them.
I dug out a box of I love Necromunda models, and for some reason I just had this fixation with taking Necromunda models and converting them into cult stuff. But I would do like one model or like two models, and I found a box of a bunch of these, and I was like, oh man, I should just make these into a Kill Team.
Yeah. Well, so I think I actually the last edition of Kill Team, I played a handful of games with Eric. I think Eric, you've certainly played more than I did, but I distinctly remember the few times I played, the worst aspect of it was making your list. Because like I hated it, because like I kind of in my head built up like, oh, like I'm gonna make these models, like I want an Imperial Guard one, I'll have this guy with a shotgun because that'll be cool and stuff. And then you go and look at the Imperial Guard Kill Team rules, and they have all these stupid options and stuff up. I can't get a shotgun, I can't get this, I can't get that. It's like, well, that's stupid.
It's kind of weird because it had like a lot of list building rules and like points for this, points for that. You can get up to this many models of this type, that type. So there's a lot of stuff there, but ultimately you still couldn't do that much with it. It was still
necessarily make something that you wanted to make, but if you didn't like take advantage of all the special weapons like you could get or whatever, you probably wouldn't
max it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a very good time with it. So it's like I hated that. It wasn't fun at all. And now this new Kill Team, it's like for most of the different armies, it's like these are the models you get for them. You have very limited options on the number of special weapons and stuff. And in some regards, that in itself is very restricting, but in other regards, it's just like, all right, you can start playing almost immediately. And now it's just more along the lines of, like, I'm still going to just kind of make what I want. Like, if I have an Imperial Guardsman with a shotgun, like, whatever. He just now, that counts as like a las gun or something. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, like, I will still do whatever and then just kind of fit it to the sort of minimal rule set that they just give you. So it's like, I can still spend all this time thinking about cool things that I want to do model-wise, but when it comes to actually playing, I don't necessarily have to do that much, and I can actually just quickly play the game.
I feel this was sort of a holdover of just general 40k, and a large portion of that, and the thing that a lot of the competitive players really like is all this list building, trying to figure out the perfect way to fit in these points and get the right synergies and such.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's not my bag.
It's not my thing at all. And particularly for Kill Team, it resulted in another thing. Like, while you could just like, oh, like I'm gonna get to have 5 scouts and like 5 space marines. You could do that, but it really wasn't good. It was probably like, oh, you should have 1 scout with a heavy weapon, 1 space marine with a heavy weapon, 2 primaris, like, and it got to this sort of dumb list building stuff that you had to spend a lot of time to put together. And then you probably had to buy a lot of different box sets or kits to hodgepodge this together, and it was a lot of upfront work. Whereas now it's just like very streamlined, and in a way a lot of the kill teams aren't really that different from their previous counterparts, other than maybe the Space Marines, because the Space Marines had so many options. But most of the other lists, like the Gene Stealer Cultists or the Dark Eldar, like you basically had like witches and Dark Eldar warriors, or like, so now it's a little bit more restrictive, but you still get pretty similar looking kill teams, but you don't have to worry about, oh, how many points is this? Like, did I get the best pistol for this guy?
Did I get all 3 of the like plasma rifles that I could get and all that dumb shit? Like, whatever.
So I'm happy that's not there.
I think an important distinction to make right now is that there's kind of like 2 veins of Kill Team currently. Because there's the Compendium, which is the book you can get. And I kind of think of it like the, if you're in 40K, the beginning of 8th edition, I think it was, they had those like, they brought everyone's codexes up to the current level by selling these books that like one book had like a bunch of different Xenos armies in it. And I can't remember what they were called, but like, it's kind of like that. That's what the Compendium is, that if you get the Compendium, all the kill teams that were in the previous edition pretty much are in there, and they've got basic rules, and you can, as you were saying, Eric, you can get like a box and you can just play with the box. And then the second stream is the new stuff, which is the orcs, the commandos, and the Death Corps
Veteran Guard,
yeah, Veteran Guard. So I haven't actually seen those rules yet because they're not in the Compendium, which sucks. But they are, I picture as more kill teams are released, those are the kind of rules we're going to see, where you have like 15 different kinds of troopers, whereas like one kind of trooper is like a Burnaboy or like a Slug-a-Boy or something. And then you choose from that listing of possible troopers and build your kill team out of that. And less of the Compendium way, where it's like 5 guys and 2 of them can have special weapons or something.
Because for like the Veteran Guardsmen or the Krieg, essentially, a kill team for this, like, well, maybe to contrast that, like a Space Marine kill team, like a Primaris thing, it's like it's 5 intercessors. They basically all have bolt rifles, and like the sergeant can get like a pistol or a chainsword or a power sword, but like that's basically it. They're 4 basically identical dudes and a sergeant, whereas like the Veteran Guardsmen or the commandos, there's a lot more options. So for the Veteran Guardsmen, for example, you have 10 guardsmen, one of which is a sergeant, and then there are 9 others, and the other 9 could all just be the generic trooper veteran, which like has a las rifle and like a bayonet or something. But there are like 9 or 10 other options, like a medic, a comms veteran, a demolition veteran, a bruiser, a hardened veteran, a sniper, a spotter, and a bunch of gunners. So you can essentially make all 10 of your models like unique, that have sort of special rules or abilities. So that goes a little bit more like the old kill team, that you can have special lists and roles and whatnot. And they also have their own strategic and tactical ploys, which are essentially like abilities you use command points on, and orders and things like this. So I think, as you were saying, Nick, I suspect most of the upcoming releases will be like, oh, we made a different war zone to have some new cool terrain, some special rules associated with it, and some missions, but also some kill teams that could be there, in which they like or and make some interesting things, rather than just like, oh, the Dark Eldar, you can have warriors or witches. And but yeah, the Compendium, like you said, Nick, is pretty bare bones. in that it just has the basic stuff for all the factions, and it's a little
bad,
bit like
though. Like
it's not like it's honestly a little bit like third edition 40k. If you played back then, the book had all the
big black
factions
book
in it.
Yeah.
And they were kind of boring. They didn't have lots of special rules or whatever, but it was all in there and you could play it, and that ultimately was fine. But
I think that was when they gave Gene Stealers power weapons, and we were like, "What?"
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yes.
They were
Gene
good.
Stealers are amazing for until the Codex came.
Yeah, but and some people were kind of upset again about the compendium, mainly because of Space Marines, because they're like intercessors and infiltrators and reavers and heavy intercessors and incursors and all that Primaris shit. Whereas before, you could have one incursor, one heavy intercessor, two Primaris, a scout, and mix all that to get special stuff.
Cool.
Which
I know you're saying it's tough because you have to buy 15 boxes, but I like the idea of having blended units that.
I think that is cool, but in this, it's just well, if you want Primaris intercessors, you get 5 of them. So that's is a bit unfortunate, but honestly, for me, who's more about kind of narrative and theme and such, this was perfect because as I have these Dark Angels I was painting, and now I have a painted kill team. That to me is nice, but I'm sure as the second stream of releases, at some point, I'm sure one of the boxes will have a Space Marine kill team that probably does do more of a mix and match, more interesting Space Marine thing. But hopefully they wait for that a little bit,
and hopefully the Space Marines get the short end of the stick, as we're seeing with that new kill team with the Sisters and the Tau.
Yeah.
So that so the notion that they're going to continue to release new kill teams that are hopefully more interesting. So they've shown at least a little bit of that at Gen Con. They showed the next kill team release, which is going to be Sisters of Battle versus the Tau. And I think there are a lot of surprising things about this. One, the Sister of Battle kill team is actually very different from most of the other Sisters of Battle stuff. They're not the standard power armored sisters, which is kind of interesting and fun. And so I'm pleased that they did a very different thing with them, and they look more like a militia or something, or almost something. These models just take off their guns and stuff, and they could slot right into Mordheim or something. But then, so they're pretty neat and interesting, but what wasn't neat and interesting was the Tau.
Interesting, but maybe not neat.
Yeah, the Tau, they
basically just added an upgrade sprue to the Pathfinders.
Yeah, so they didn't really do anything cool with them. They have all the same old models, and they added an upgrade sprue, which obviously we would have hoped for just newly done Tau models, but rather than just add some extra shit to glue on them. And I mean, in some regards, I think they could have gotten away with this okay, because I would argue that some of the old Tau models, they were remarkably nice, even for when they were made. They had some of the first models, the Pathfinders. Not all of them had their fingers on the trigger of their guns. I think that was the first instance that a GW model wasn't just always pulling the trigger. So, a lot of those little details were, cool details that I was always impressed the models have, and they work very well into the idea of, seasoned operators on, these special missions and stuff. So, the notion, they could have just used those models and kind of retweaked their weapons, maybe made them a little smaller and, more in line with something that a covert operative might use. But instead, I feel they sort of took, I guess, more of the standard GW way out of let's just take those weapons they had before, and instead of kind of redesigning them, let's just tack
Pile some
on
stuff on them.
yeah, like let's tack on a whole bunch of other shit and
Hey
because
man, they've got one really, really nice bionic arm.
well, yeah, but
That's true.
they don't
Just the
even
bionic
show that
arm.
to you in the nice pictures.
No,
Like
they
you
don't.
wouldn't even
You're right.
know. Like, but so like they just tacked a whole bunch of extra shit on their weapons, so now they look even bulkier and more cumbersome than they ever did before. So those kind of small tactical cool details that they always had are sort of overshadowed by all that other bullshit, and they're just not great.
And I mean, also, like, this to me was also an opportunity for some of the races to like add new things to the race, like the Sisters of Battle. Like, they could have just had like power armored sisters and make like the medic one, but they actually had an entirely new unit. Whereas like the Tau, like they basically have Pathfinders, maybe stealth drones or stealth suits and drones, like not a huge amount of interesting kill team options. And when they went to update them, they basically just upgraded Pathfinders. Like, I'm sure they'll be fine in game terms or whatnot, but it seems like a missed opportunity, and it opens up the fear that, like, God, I hope when the Tyranids get something, they don't just like cheap out.
Oh, you know we're just getting
anything.
a stupid ass. You know we're just getting a conversion sprue.
Yeah,
Gods from
almost
2003 conversion sprue.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna
that's
be
the
bad.
sort of disappointing thing.
Yeah, so the gods are gonna be garbage. They're not. It's not gonna be anything
If they
cool.
even do it.
Because I mean, even the old Gaunt models, they already kind of had some of the little biomorphs that you could glue on them. So I almost feel like they'll just like dial the biomorphs up to 11, and like it'll not be cool.
Yeah, because I guess I'm hoping for more of these to actually make these elite covert looking teams and whatnot that add new things or develop the lore and factions and such, but we'll see.
The only thing I liked about the Tau is that, I don't know if this is still their fluff, but back in the day when they were first released, their fluff was supposed to be that they were really kind of like, they were evolving very quickly, and they would experiment with all kinds of weapon systems. And I feel like that was kind of explored on the commanders, where you can get like weird like ion flesh it whatever launchers on the commanders and the crisis suits, but you didn't really see that in the rank and file. So I feel like, though the guns do have like extraneous shit on them, I feel like we're seeing a little more of that like Tau experiment. Maybe we haven't seen the rules, but hopefully we get some of that Tau experimental weaponry.
That's true.
Approach. But when it comes to Tyranids and possible kill team releases, I definitely hope that they get the Sisters treatment and not the Tau treatment. I do like that we've seen this box so that we can kind of anticipate how these releases will likely go. Like the release with the Orcs and the Krieg, all new models, all amazing. Seems like a one-off just for launch. And I think probably going forward, they've announced that it's going to be a quarterly schedule where there's like a new kill zone every quarter. So the Tau Sisters will be the next quarter. And I'm guessing that the next quarter after that, we'll get the same one brand new unit and one warmed over unit with a conversion sprue.
Yeah, so
and
I'm gonna guess it here. The Tyranids will never get anything. They will just do a Gene Stealer cult thing.
No. What they're gonna do? Actually, I don't think they're gonna get the warmed over gods. I think they're gonna get Gene Stealers in a new box, because I bang this drum every chance I get. They have a new Gene Stealer sculpt. They released it in 2016 in Deathwatch Overkill. It's a brand new sculpt. It's based on the second edition Gene Stealers, but they only gave you like 2 or 4 of them in the box, and it's never been released anywhere else. So I think they're going to take that, because they have the digital files, make a whole box of them, give them a buttload of biomorphs, and hopefully enough tentacle heads, feeder tendril heads for a whole unit. Because please God, God damn it, we've never had enough tentacle heads for a whole unit. Oh, it's the worst. So I'm expecting that for Tyranids. I'm expecting a Gene Stealers.
That would be cool. I still think they'll take path of least resistance and realize like Gene Stealer Cult Tyranids, they're kind of the same thing, and it's easy to pump out more Gene Stealer Cult because we just have the easy digital assets, make I don't know, another Psyker sort of Magos something, some mining weapons, and well, yeah, they'll probably make it kind of boring and nothing.
Well, I mean, the Gene Stealer Cultists, you could have cultists, Gene Stealer Cultists, they don't all need to be wearing the mining gear.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. That's easy.
Yeah. Well, it's to the point where in the new Necromunda, like, non-specialty gang, associated gang, like some of those
are cool.
Like they're pretty much wearing like the mining gear of the Chaos Cultists. It's like, come on, come up with something different. Like, not everyone in the 40k universe is not wearing the heavy industrial mining gear. Like, what the fuck?
Well, fun fact, if you want to convert those, the guy who created them posted on Instagram recently that those new models that they just previewed are compatible with neophyte arms.
Yeah, so that is nice. That's nice. Yeah. Which I guess that's why it's, and they're also compatible with the worst heads in the Necromunda range.
Your favorite.
It's like, is that seriously what? Of all the options, the options there, you made it for the Orlocks. But well,
I mean that's why the new models. That's why their head attachment to the bodies looks so awkward. It's because they tried to make it accommodate the Orlock heads, and the Orlocks don't have necks. So
they don't?
Not really.
Oh damn! I don't have that kit.
If you've ever looked at the Orlock models, they are.
Well, I don't know how they assemble.
You would do yourself a favor never to look very closely at them.
Okay, good.
Don't look at them. You'll be disappointed to no end. These are thankfully a lot better than the Orlocks. But
well, so maybe going back to Kill Team, I'm still cautiously optimistic about new releases, but this box, as we sort of said, did largely confirm that probably one of the warbands will be like really dialed up and special. The others will be maybe a bit
so like when they do one with Eldar, we know they will do nothing.
Don't say it, Adam.
They will do nothing for them. Literally
Adam,
nothing.
Please, no.
They will give you the
dire.
They will give you the dire Avengers. Because they're the Guardians, the plastic Guardians with the upgraded plastic components, and then that's it. They're done.
Shit. Oh, shit. That'll be the worst.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. But
well,
at least
really excited
releasing stuff.
Okay, question for you, Adam, because you have the Krieg models.
Oh, yeah.
Would you describe the Krieg models as monopose or as like modular, posable?
They're modular.
So I think that's the one really good thing.
So they're modular, but there's one stipulation to it, and I think this is almost like a good stipulation. Like the old Cadians and Catachan models, those, you had the choice of how you glued the torso to the legs. You had the choice to glue them on terribly and give them a terrible pose. These ones, their torsos and legs, you do have to glue them together, but you're stuck with... You can't repose them unless you do some serious cutting. And on top of that, their necks, they're sculpted onto the torso, so the heads you glue on, they're facing roughly in one direction. So if you want to repose their head, you can still relatively easily do it. It's just you'll have to do a little bit of work. But their arms, I haven't experimented with it too much, but from what I can tell, I think just about all of the arms, with maybe a few exceptions, just about all of the arms will work with all of the bodies.
Nice.
So you still have a lot of flexibility of what you do with them. It's just you're a little limited in the head positioning and how the legs are positioned with the torso, which I think ultimately is probably better because it results in better looking models because unless you really want to work for it, it's going to be hard to glue their head on in a way that looks really stupid.
Unnatural. But
Okay.
and even the orc knob, like he has a little piece, a neck piece that there are two of them, right?
Yeah.
Such that you can position the head in two ways, just depending on which of those neck
damn cool.
pieces. So, like, I think options like that, I think, are great, in which they recognize that people might want to have these options, but they lock it in a way that you can't, like, position the head in a way that the neck really wouldn't, a physiological neck wouldn't allow, because a lot of old space marines or whatnot, you could somewhat easily glue them together in a way that just doesn't make sense. That
well, ball joints,
100% obvious when you're gluing 10 together in an hour.
So
like Tyranids are all ball joints, so you can do awkward posing with them. I think Gene Stealer Cultists, their heads are ball joints, so you can do kind of.
Yeah, you can you can ruin them.
So what I was asking about that because I feel like there's a lot of talk in the online community about the mono apocalypse, like the oh my god, everything's push fit monopose now. Oh, this is trash. Like it's all going push fit monopose. But it would seem that with Kill Team being like based on the orc kit, based on the Krieg kit, how there's like options in there and you can assemble them different ways. And then based on the fact that the one silver lining of the Pathfinders is that they're showing their commitment to multi-pose models.
Yeah,
like they're not deleting the Pathfinders and giving you a monopose push fit kit. They're taking that old modular kit and giving you flash that can add on to it.
Yeah, so for the most part, I sort of really like what they did with like the Orc Commandos and the Death Corps models. Whoever did most of the sculpting for them, they recognize the notion that people they want some options, so they decided they themselves would sculpt these additional options to all kind of work with the different models, such that you can pose them differently, but at the same time, they kind of use their sculpting prowess and knowledge of how they think the model should work to like sort of lock it into a few different ways that you still have a lot of flexibility to how you assemble them, but it minimizes the chance of you just kind of really bumbling it. And
that's just their like sort of guide rails to make it quicker to maybe assemble and like less likely for you to get it to a point that you're unsatisfied with the models. And like a lot of the more recent, more monopose kits, like even like the Primaris Intercessors, like they don't have the same level of thought and care put into them for being able to produce interesting poses and such that these Krieg or orcs have. So it's nice that they really went, I feel, above and beyond, like to the point that it might be the Krieg one in particular might be the most impressive example of having a multi-part kind of not multi-part kit.
Yeah. And see, another thing, both of these kits for both the orcs and the Krieg, they also have a lot of like just like little interesting pouches and like daggers, axes, multi-tools, different types of pouches, all sorts of stuff that you can glue on the models, which is neat. And like if you contrast that with like the relatively new Necromunda Redemptionist models, those models,
oh god, don't talk about that.
They literally have no additional little things that you could glue onto the model, like nothing. So like you can tell like the effort put into the different releases from Games Workshop certainly isn't always the same.
Equal, yeah.
Sorry, you might hear some weird noises. I'm being assaulted by my puppy.
No problem at all.
Well, so we talked a little bit, obviously, about where Kill Team might be going here, and mentioned some of the models we've been building. Like, what's your thought, Nick, on like how you're gonna play the models you're making, the Tyranids and such you're converting? Are you gonna just use the straight Tyranid rules, something else? Like, what's your rationale there?
And yeah, like, are you, like, you've converted a bunch of models already? Has that been loosely based on like the rules from the compendium that you have, or are you just kind of building stuff you think is cool and you're gonna kind of force it to the rule? Because that's sort of what I think I'm doing. I'm building models that I think are gonna be cool, and then I'll kind of force one of the rule sets to kind of work with them.
Yeah. And like I am very much there with you on that, Adam. Like I go for the rule of cool. I've recently started experimenting with posting on Warhammer Reddit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't get this as much on Instagram because people are more there for the models. But on Reddit, there's a lot of people being like, but what rules are you going to use? And I'm like, oh, I really don't care about rules. I just want to make a cool model. And then later I'll like shoehorn it into some rules. Like I posted the dominatrix that I did, the Tyranid dominatrix, and people are like, but is it a Heraduel? Is it a Hierophant? Which is it? I'm like, who cares? So I'm very much when I started the Tyranid kill team, I can't remember if I talked about it once we started the podcast, part of this section or before, but it was basically inspired by me wanting to explore an upright gaunt. And I did an initial sketch for it, and I liked it so much, like a bipedal gaunt, that I went and made like 4 more almost immediately. And that was when like Kill Team was being teased, but before the compendium came out. So when I was working on that, I was very much inspired by like old gaunt kind of rules where they used to be able to have spike rifles and strangle webs.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I want to have like shit. Yeah, like I want to have one strangle web gaunt, and I want to have one spike rifle gaunt, and then I want to have one with some kind of like heavy weapon. So I started converting the strangle web, not the spike rifle, but I've got a good idea for it. But it was very much like I had an idea for the kill team first, and then I saw the rules in the compendium, and I wasn't as impressed by them because like that thing we were talking about where the compendium just gives you like the bog standard rules to be able to play with like the normal models that come out of Tyranid box. So I decided that instead of running them as Tyranids, I'm going to try to run them as brood coven, so as Genestealer cultists, because in the Tyranid kill team you can take one fire team of gaunts, and then you can take one fire team of Genestealers and one fire team of warriors. And to build your kill team, you can have either like you can double up on the warriors, you can double up on the Genestealers, but you can only ever take one fire team of gaunts. And their weapons options are you can have a flesh borer or a spine fist on any of the guys, but they're like pistols, so they have like a 6-inch range, which is annoying in kill team because kill team you're supposed to have like unlimited range. Or you can take a Devourer, which is like a stronger gun that has unlimited range, but it counts as 2 operatives, so it's kind of like kind of shitty. You like have to give up one of your gaunts to get a better gun. And there's no like I converted one of my gaunts to be like a hive node, like psychic communications, whatever. And there's nothing like that represented in the kill team, so I could just put him in there and just be like, whatever, he's just another gaunt, he just looks cool. But when I looked at the brood coven list, you can take 2 special weapons and 1 heavy weapon in that fire team. So I'm thinking of fielding my gaunts as neophytes, and then in lieu of a strangle web, which they don't have rules for, the guy will be equipped with a Weber, and in lieu of a like death spitter, because the one guy has a death spitter, that'll be a grenade launcher. And then the guy who's going to be the spike rifle, I'll make him kind of like a sniper, so he'll have a mining laser. You do that kind of thing.
It works pretty well.
And then the hive node will be a cult icon, which is like a buff kind of thing.
So I think that just because like the neophytes have more options in that box, so they added the rules for kill team, but I feel it opens up a nice opportunity to have like very different models, which is kind of what you want for making a character fun kill team. And I think the cultist, more than some of the others, has that opportunity to impart some flavor there.
And
Without,
like, you don't have to have that. You can just make a guy that has like a really weird gun, and you're like, no, that guy's just got a last gun, whatever. And you just do it for rule of cool because you want it to look neat. But it's also fun to have like an option of using a rule set where you could represent that cool gun as something different from what other people have.
Yeah.
Particular, and without, and still maintaining like kind of the ease of list building, which is something that we talked a little bit about. That's kind of nice that you don't have to do all this min maxing and stuff. And if
I love that there's no points, that it's like the more, what are they, the power level or whatever, is that what they do?
From 40K,
where it's more a rough estimate, but this is like the roughest of estimates. It's like, have this many guys and your force will be more or less equivalent to someone else's.
Well, kind of towards the Gene Stealer cultists, I kind of feel they work well for a lot of sort of random armies because of lots of different options, to the point that the Church of the Red Athenaeum that, Adam, you've been working on for kind of Necromunda sort of stuff, I think would be pretty great just using the Gene Stealer cultist rules, because like they have auto guns and shotguns, which are stuff that you've been putting on or have already had on some of your stuff. Like your one heavy weapon guy you made has a heavy stubber, essentially. A bunch of your guys just have like knives and things, and that kind of fits with the hybrids, which have like auto pistols and knives. So like I feel the Gene Stealer cult, and they have a bunch of fun rules about like ambushing and playing around with concealed and exposed, which is fun. Like I think it's just a fun list that gives you a lot of interesting opportunities to play with. So I think it would be a good thing just to use for more general human like figures that aren't like Imperial Guardsmen or Sisters of Battle.
Like if, like, for instance, Nick, you're making this Tyranid kill team, hopefully, like, whenever they do release the new Tyranid kill team of sorts in probably one of those boxes, like, hopefully they'll make new and cool and really interesting things. But even if they don't, they will probably at least give you some new ideas of things that you could try and convert additional models and stuff that you could just then add to the kill team. Because I think in this version of kill team, like the last one, you can sort of just build a collection of different models with different options and stuff. And then when you actually go to play, you just choose out of the models you have the ones that you want to use for that battle. So I feel it can also,
like a roster, and you just like pick stuff.
Yeah, so it can also, now you'll build some cool models that roughly fit with a rule set, and then hopefully as they continue to expand some of the different forces and armies and such, that will just be an impetus to get you to convert and add other interesting models. That's
it's like Kill Team. I saw someone online commenting on how they were like interested in starting a new army, and they were like, well, maybe I'll just experiment with starting a Kill Team. And it's great for that if you just want to like mess around with a force but you don't want to commit to a giant army. And also it's great for if you want to make like a really characterful force where every one of your operatives is like extensively converted or uniquely painted, or has like weird war gear and like pouches and all that on them. It feels like a more rewarding setting to do that, because you do that in 40K, you got to do like I did these bipedal, I call them standagons or whatever, bipedal gaunts, and some people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that for my whole army, I'm going to convert 60 of them. I'm like, I would rather jump off a bridge than convert 60 of these things.
Gosh.
But Kill Team is such a good setting because you can spend, it's not that hard to convert these gaunts. I made a video showing how to do it, but it takes you about half an hour to an hour per gaunt. But in Kill Team, it's rewarding because you have like 6 of them. And then I've tried to put different biomorphs on each one so that they look different from each other, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just feels like a good setting for that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And interesting, like even for the Dark Angels that I painted, like I converted them to be true scale regular Space Marines. And admittedly, if you use regular Space Marines, you can have like maybe you have 6 Marines and you can have a special weapon and a heavy weapon, but it's just like screw that. Like I'm just using them as Primaris. Like they look like Primaris, and like so even though you're sort of restricted with the Space Marine stuff, like I'm probably just gonna look to see which is the most fun looking Primaris sort of Space Marine team and maybe try to play a few of them until I find one that I just enjoy that style of play. And so that in itself is kind of fun. Like,
well, so I guess even related to that, over the past maybe about year or so, I've been slowly doing like weapon conversion tutorials and stuff, and a lot of those were just like making new smaller weapons for Space Marines and such. So, and then I've been slowly painting some Iron Snake Space Marines along those lines. So far I have 2 models painted, and another one fully converted, and then a 4th one that's mostly there with like a smaller plasma rifle. So like Kill Team has sort of inspired me in that notion that I think I have a loose goal. We'll see if it actually happens, where like roughly every 2 months I want to paint another Iron Snake to like kind of add to this building like little Kill Team. So as I do more like little weapon conversion tutorials and stuff, like I can slowly convert some more Space Marine models to add to like a little Kill Team. So eventually like I'll have another little thing to experiment and play around with. So like I think in general I think Kill Team can be a good way to experiment with all sorts of different things, whether it's you want to like just look into like a new army, or even if like you've converted a lot of cool models and stuff for Inq28, chances are you can just collect a bunch of them together and use them to make a Kill Team for who knows what.
Yeah, and honestly, that's an interesting, and I'd like to touch on a little bit like how we feel we're going to play Kill Team, but I think for Inq28 stuff, like the rules are pretty simple, and it's kind of like an alternating back and forth. And even though the rules have introduced the opportunity to make like a wider spectrum of unit types, like custodes are really good and grots are bad, at the end of the day, a lot of the things are still pretty similar to each other. Like most guns are basically bolters, or if they're like really garbage guns, they're like auto guns, las guns. Most people they all roll 3 defense die. Most of their saves are about the same. All these things. So like unless they're like god tier things like custodes, like most things are pretty similar. Similar armor saves, things like that. So I think it would be super easy to just play Inq28 games. Like if you get a bunch of friends together, build some interesting teams, and then literally just pick and choose out unit types or whatever. They don't even, I don't think would have to even be from the same kill teams. Like whatever. So much of the stuff is similar enough. And most of the weapon types that you might want to use, particularly if they're like inquisitors and stuff, it's all in there. Like, and since the Inq28 narrative sort of stuff tends to not be like competitive cutthroat stuff, like who cares if it's balanced or not? Like, I think it would just be a fun way to play the game that has a little bit more granularity, but is still pretty quick. Alternating activations keeps people always engaged with what's going on, and your guys have a little bit more defense. they're not just going to necessarily die to one shot or an unlucky roll. So because of the more dice you're rolling and how the save blocking stuff goes, I think it could be more compelling and rewarding, and not just like, oh, everyone just died due to this one bad roll or whatnot. So I think a lot of the Inq28 games we've played in the past have been like a modified Necromunda sort of rule set, with just people kind of creating their own rules based on basic stat lines. I think Kill Team, would be great for that, because you don't have to stick with the defined lists, but it's simple enough that I think, hell, you wouldn't even have to make lists at all and just go in and start rolling dice, kind of intuiting what things probably are based on some familiarity with the game. So I think it'll be good for that.
Yeah, and I think that's true, and I certainly haven't heard people talk about that notion, but I think it would actually work surprisingly well.
But that's probably a little getting ahead of ourselves, in the sense that we haven't even played the new version yet, which I would like to do. So with that in mind, Nick, how would you like to play the game? Do you think you're going to try to get in some games at a local game store, something like that? Or
So I haven't played anything like 40K since I was in a tournament in 2017.
Okay.
My first ever tournament. But I'm really excited to play this. Yeah, and I'm actually like, you need to edit this part of the final podcast, but I was actually thinking about like getting some Space Marines and just making a quick Kill Team Space Marine, so that if my buddies come over, I can be like, hey, let's play this cool game. Here, you can use these guys because they have like training wheels and you're not going to die. But,
yeah, because that's a good point, because like I had painted like earlier a bunch of Sisters of Battle just kind of for the hell of it, and that's like half a Kill Team already. So
yeah.
And I have the Space Marine ones that like I have a weekly game night, like board game night, and I think I'm probably gonna just try to bust it out, and I think that will be fun.
And because I've had we have this weird thing going on where my wife finds friends of hers, male friends of hers, who have always wanted to play Warhammer, and then she tells them that I'm into Warhammer, and then she offers me to play a game with them, and I'm like, So, I lied. I guess the last time I did that was 2019 when I played Shadow War with a buddy of mine.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't really care about playing Warhammer before. I was more interested in converting and that kind of stuff, sculpting. But if this is small and simple and we can whip out a little board and play it, then I'm actually interested. And I'm interested in trying to get my friends to play with me.
So true. Because honestly, for the longest time, most of the life of our blog, except for maybe an Inq28 game where we traveled somewhere, we just didn't play the game at all. But with the release of the last edition of Kill Team, I played with some graduate school friends, and honestly, I would play a game or two every other month or something, which is so much more than I used to do. Yeah. So this, and it fits with the idea, I don't want to paint 30 models, but so I feel it's very much in my wheelhouse, and it seems reasonable now that I've been painting more, and just it seems like a reason to I should paint that terrain I assembled, or I should make some more, and I think that kind of momentum is exciting.
Yeah. It feels kind of dumb, but my buddy Hydra, German Simon, he's really smart in that he only really works on miniature projects that he's going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's working on something, it's because he wants to play a game of Frostgrave with it, or because he's going to build this table and that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really good motivation, because one of the fastest conversions I ever did was I went and I was playing Shadow War Armageddon at our local games workshop when it came out in 2016 or whatever, 2017. And I played one game and I won. I got Prometheum cash. I got to upgrade one of my guys to have a heavy stubber. And I went home and converted him that night and brought him back to the store the next morning so I could use him.
That's
great.
It
was motivated because I had so much fun playing the game.
Yeah, and I think that is a strong motivation, and probably a motivation for people playing 40k, like played some games or saw someone use this for their similar army. It's like, you know what, I should have that. And like that, there is motivation there, and it's something that we haven't experienced much, in that like we've sort of drifted away from massive battles in
Yeah.
Sigma or 40k. But I think that it is a lot more feasible now, and seeing that they are gonna continue to release new kill team models and such suggests that Games Workshop is a little bit more invested in this than they used to be, in a way that's not just like, well, the easiest thing to do is like release elites and characters, so it's just like release sort of a ham-fisted book that's just an opportunity to provide rules for other models that are already there, where it looks like this is more like we're actually putting in the effort and making new things that are relevant to the setting and the theme of this game, rather than just like, could we get vehicles in this? I think so. Yeah.
We need content for Kill Team. Well, let's just make a book that like plows our existing models into it.
Yeah, so I think that's all exciting. Heck, maybe when like COVID dies down more and travel opens up, like we should try to visit you or something, or have you down here and have our
that'd be cool.
teams, you know, go at it.
We could do like an actual campaign. Like that's the thing. I want to play one-off games with my friends, but I don't know if they're going to be into like doing a sustained campaign, which is when you get the interesting stuff, like people get abilities and shit like that. That's what I really liked about Shadow War, that the evolution of your characters.
Well, I'm pretty sure in the kill team rules, the campaign sort of stuff, it's designed to be a little bit like Warcry, in which that each player and their kill team is kind of doing their own set of things through these covert missions, that you could just like play one with your friends, then with the same kill team in the same campaign come and play 2 games with us, and still be doing that and advancing your warriors, to make it easier to get at least a little bit of that experience without the need to have a highly structured league that you have to meet every week, and then it falls off after 2 months and no one continues. So
our challenge here in Canada is that we're not locked down, but like our local Games Workshop, they're like, you can play in the store, but you have to bring your own mat, you have to bring your own terrain, you have to bring your own everything, and then you have to take it all out with you, because they don't want to like worry about cleaning terrain or anything. So I haven't yet done that, but they are open for that. And I was thinking about going in with some terrain and stuff like that, and having like a demo game of Kill Team with the staff there, because they know ins and outs.
That's actually a good idea. A good idea.
But yeah, so I feel, I don't know, I think this opens up a lot of exciting elements to retrieve one facet of this hobby that has been eluding us for a long time, which is actually playing games, to have that additional motivation. And like, I'm excited for that. You.
Yeah, I similarly have not really played at all.
And I think that would kind of help excite me to like make other things. Like, so in addition to like the little weapon tutorials, like sometime I think last year, maybe it was earlier this year, I converted that one orc knob character and like converted his like slugger into like a like a Mac 10 type like weapon. And so like this like orc knob for kill team, like I've started to slowly modify him and modify his weapon. So like I think I will slowly hopefully make that into an orc kill team. And like, but I think most of the orcs are gonna kind of be like larger models that kind of play around with scale a little more. And like I think I'll maybe get one of those Age of Sigmar or like Cruel Boy models, because they're all spindly and like tall and whatnot. I think that would just kind of add to more of an interesting character to like orcs themselves. And then probably also what's his name, Wazdak, or like the
The new orc character with the claw thing.
Zodgrod.
Zodgrod.
Because he's skinny.
I'll probably get him and convert him because he's like skinny and different looking. And so like kind of give them all kind of more modern, interesting weapons and stuff. And like slowly make like a little kill team Inq28 orc warband. And I sort of kind of get the idea that maybe each model will have like a little grot familiar with them.
I like
because
it.
like that's kind of just fun. Like that orc knob that I converted, he has his own little grot familiar. This knob here can have the fun little one with the
Spec Ops one with the
I think Games Workshop missed an opportunity to go full Nurgling with the orcs. You know how like the Death Guard got all those cool Nurglings? I feel like the orcs should have gotten all kinds of cool grots.
Well, see, they need to have a rebel grot kill team. That's what they need to do.
You're right.
Oh my god, that would be so good.
Actually, so the new orc stuff that hasn't all been released, the Pain Boy or whatever, has the little grot with the little gyro wheel or whatever.
I think it's going up for pre-order this weekend.
I'll probably have to get that little grot. He can be one that I convert that can go along with
even the Pain Boy themselves, they're cool. Pretty cool because it also harkens back to some old second edition models, which all of these orcs that you've been converting and are thinking about all also harken back to some of those design elements that is fun. So I guess that just hits back at this idea that Kill Team seems to be a great opportunity to convert stuff you've always been thinking about, or paint some things like that, or maybe some models you've already had built but didn't do anything with, to make a few more and paint them up and do something with. Like having that impetus and the kind of goal in mind is a great motivation to be more productive and ultimately probably feel good about doing stuff with some of your pile of shame. So I think it's all exciting.
I would encourage anyone to just convert cool shit and call it a kill team. Think of every because it gives you the opportunity to really kind of lose yourself in a conversion of a single model. In a Warhammer 40k setting, that single model could be lost in the vast span of models on the table. But in Kill Team, that single model is going to stand out because you only have so many operatives. So I feel like a converter's dream that you have this setting where every one of your guys is valuable and they're all going to have kind of attention and they can start developing their own character and stuff like that. So really push the boat out and try some cool stuff with your Kill Team. Don't you can just take a kit out of the box and build it as stock and that's your Kill Team. But then as you get more comfortable with it, you can start, as Adam was saying, you can start adding different operatives to it, and doing one at a time, and just.
Or even if it's...
I had an experience in when I was playing Shadow War Armageddon where I had these two guys who jumped off a tower, and they died in game, but they survived at the end. So I converted the model, a new version of the models, where they both had Skitari bionic legs.
That's right.
To show that they had have bionics and cool stuff like that.
Up. Well, so related to that, the notion I think, Eric, the little kill team you're working on, I think you can also, even if you largely just build models closer to what they come from the boxes, these Marines you've done a bunch of conversion work on them, giving them different heads and weapons and trimming off extra details and stuff. But I think you can also, just in the painting in general as well, you can kind of add a lot of little characterful and interesting details in the painting as well that kind of picks out different characters. On these Dark Angels, painted it such that each of them has a little different heraldry on their knee pads and stuff. So I could also see, as you play with the models and stuff, you could paint additional little, flourishes and other stuff on the models to kind of...
and it's towards that end. It could also just be, an opportunity to, to try some different painting techniques, or try to incorporate oil paints that you've been meaning to try for a while, or I'd always wanted to try some of these different texture things to make some ice bases or whatever, and how would that do something? And like, I feel there's lots of opportunity there, because you don't need to, like, it's not this thing like, I need to decide this right now because I need to then get 150 of these bases and I can't go back. I need to make sure the paint scheme's always consistent. Like, you don't have to do any of that. So that's nice.
I also think it's kind of cool that they have the equipment points where you can, like, you don't have to commit to certain, like, if, for example, for Tyranids, like flesh hooks, feeder tendrils, you don't have to like commit to those on like one model. Like when you're devising your list, it's kind of like when you're about to start the game, you get to 10 points to pick equipment, and you can kind of like deploy those things as you want them.
Because I feel particularly with some of the stuff like the Tyranids and stuff, like some of those little biomorphs and other stuff like that, like, I don't even feel like you necessarily even need to have them overtly modeled on.
We have bits for them, but I think a long time ago people stopped actually having them on their models to make them like what you see is what you get. You just pay the points.
Yeah, like, I mean, flash hooks and stuff, they could easily hide these little hooks that they could shoot out, like, underneath their different carapace or like whatever, like.
Yeah, but I think that equipment thing, like you said, is sort of a fun way to like realize that some people did like that little list building thing to like give operative special stuff, and there's still an opportunity to do that. And honestly, in the future, GW could even release like an expansion for each of the army lists have additional equipment, or hell, you could just make stuff up yourself that you think is relevant. And that's just lots of fun opportunities. So, and that's what I want.
All that being said, use Kill Team as an opportunity to get out there, to convert some new cool models, paint some new cool models, experiment with new things. I think that is maybe the most exciting thing about it, and you can use it as a means to sort of direct some of that creativity and use that to like actually play a game or do something like that.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think it's exciting.
Make more models.
So I mean, maybe with that, we've largely kind of reached an end of this conversation. Is there any last things anyone would like to add before we close this episode out?
Paint more miniatures.
I just think it's remarkable that Games Workshop released something that's getting the three of us to talk about playing the game. It's shit.
It's true.
Like, Eric, I know you play, but me and Adam, no, man. Just sit at our desks and make cool shit.
But
why would I play with it?
Paint. I've now.
There you go.
Now I'll hopefully play with painted models, maybe painted terrain soon. Like,
and
GW was never able to get me to do that.
I think it would be fun. You might be able to convert some like scout models and stuff to add a few of them as well eventually. So like, I think it would be fun.
Yeah, agreed. No,
that's awesome. And like, I was really glad to be able to talk to you guys about it, because I'm ridiculously jazzed about this, and I'm kind of surprising myself.
Maybe we'll have to, like, after hopefully we've all played a few games or something, or like done some more work on the different kill teams, maybe we'll have to have another episode where we kind of like follow up and kind of discuss
how we're doing, and
and if maybe
I'd love to.
Maybe if our opinions have changed a little bit, or if we think like, oh, there really need to be more options to change this or that or whatever. We'll see.
Yeah.
And we're maybe
we'll see how Kill Team evolves.
Maybe the next time they show the next like quarterly Kill Team release and it has Tyranids in it, we can talk about that.
That would be awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, all right. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will talk to you again soon. All right, well, that's recorded. That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that was a
Yeah.
good discussion. I think we touched on a lot of different points. And as a matter of fact, that's
Yeah.
another thing that some of those things we were talking about, this could also be a fun way where, like, over the past few years, I've slowly been painting some other old Hammer models and stuff. Like, you could also have this as an opportunity where, like, everybody paints up like a small little kill team of like some of the older like second edition or rogue trader miniatures and just use them to play kill team, because I think that would be kind of fun, because like they have,
I do have some old ant warriors that I haven't touched in decades.
I have some of those ant warriors too if you need more.
Oh no, I think I've got a goodly amount, but thanks.
Okay, well, I have a few.
Like, Nick, like you painted that Gene Stealer cult army, right? That maybe did pretty well in Armies of Parade. You have all those Kroot models you started and maybe haven't quite all finished.
And I got to finish my Kroot, but the Kroot list in this is not as crap as the old Kroot list. Like, there's actually like Kroot Oxes and Kroot Hounds.
Mm-hmm. But I guess all that's to say, like all your Gene Stealer cultist stuff, like you probably already have a painted kill team.
Oh yeah, and I have a Dark Eldar kill team too. I was thinking about this.
Yeah, so like that's awesome, because so really, even once you finish the one you're working on now, like you still have a bunch that you could take places and play it. So like that's exciting. Like with the smaller amount of models for the stuff, like I'm sure I think I can probably pull together a Sisters one, even though I don't quite have all the models painted for it. Like I think I can find enough.
You could use some of the little...
Do you guys have the compendium? Do you need me to send you more pictures?
I have it. I got a copy of it.
Okay.
I tried to convince him not to get it, but he got it.
But I knew I would be more likely to actually play and do it if I actually had it. Yeah. I mean, I wanted a digital version of it, but GW...
Did they not have the digital version?
No.
They don't have a digital version of any of the stuff.
Oh, shit.
And it's just like,
I guess they realize people are ripping them off.
Yes,
maybe? I don't know. I doubt it's even that. I think they just didn't want to put the effort and have someone do it.
Because, like, the whole idea of people, like, ripping it off, it's like, sure, maybe some people would have pirated it, but they already have still done that with just in the printed form. It's just now they lost the sales. Like, I would have purchased it digitally. Eric would have purchased it digitally and probably the physical version. Like, so it's like, I don't know.
I wanted it, and it just seems weird to me. And I think it maybe has something to do with the fact that for 40K they tried to experiment with the app. And now, since that's a component of Warhammer Plus now...
There'll be like a kill team app or something.
And that I don't have interest in, even though I even subscribe to Warhammer Plus. Like, if they introduce that, I don't think I would even use it.
Oh, you do subscribe?
I do. I subscribed. Have you?
No.
Don't. I mean, it's fine. But you should really just wait a year until more of the content's there. Spend $6 for a month and watch the like couple seasons or whatever of animated stuff, and then stop.
Yeah. I really like that Vindicare, but I don't know. I told myself I didn't need it.
Really?
I haven't decided which model I'm gonna get. Maybe I'll get the Vindicare to give you.
Oh, it's so nice. Come on, that orc is not good.
Well, but he's not that. I mean, the Vindicare is pretty not good too, I guess is all I have to say.
What? Oh, I think he's amazing. Because his gun's too long?
It's not just too long. Everything about it's too big. Well, it's so big that it's clear he's not a good sniper.
Yeah, like, it completely undermines the entire model, I feel.
But the
Oh
dude
man,
himself
you mean
without the
giant
gun.
sniper rifles?
I mean, giant sniper
What?
rifles exist, but they're not like that. I mean, they make
Okay.
like the Barrett 50 caliber sniper rifles. I mean, they're big, but they're still functional. I'll leave it
Yeah.
I
at
don't know.
that.
I'm the model himself, him. Yeah, I guess it's probably him. Is pretty good. You just have to do something about the rifle. And I don't
To
know the
me,
terrain
give it
he's
to me.
on
Send
is
me
kind
that
of cool.
rifle. I'll put it on a Sanctus or whatever. It'll be amazing.
But ultimately, the Warhammer Plus is it's pretty good
Okay.
for like the sort of people who would want it. And even for
Yeah.
me, I don't give a shit about that app or really the battle reports or a lot of the stuff, but it's not that expensive, and like most of
It
the
is very
animation
cheap.
has been pretty good.
I'm assuming once there's more content in there, they're going to bump the price up.
I could see that. That's true.
That is a good.
But probably after this year's up, unless they somehow make it super compelling, I can't imagine doing another year. Maybe like after more stuff is released, subscribe for a
what
month,
they'll do is
watch it.
after a year and everyone's sick of it, they'll put in some like new awesome models, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, of course. They're going to do that every year.
And they should. Like, that is a way to. But the animation stuff, like, the animation isn't fantastic, but.
Yeah, I watched the Bale Eye preview or whatever, and the animation was not amazing.
But, like, I assume it was, like, 4 people doing it with no budget, so, like.
Yeah, in-house or whatever.
Yeah, and so.
The other 2 episodes from
credit who does it. Again, back to GW, not. They do Jonathan Hartman, our buddy Jonathan. They at least said he did stuff, but it is kind of weird to see like that's literally like the only name, and then it's like Warhammer Story Forge or something. And for when you almost certainly those teams are pretty small, it seems like a real missed opportunity to like show. Like, because I think if people would see that animation, it's like, that's the animation, sure is it? That's no Star Wars Visions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would see that, like, a name of it's like 3 people or 5 people, or like these 3 people did the animation, this person did the script, it would be like, damn, like these people are really passionate. And because ultimately, a lot of the other 2 episodes for Hammer and Bolter they have are the storytelling is, I think, more interesting than Old Bale Eye, and I think are a little bit better. Yeah. And I think they also did a better job of the portions that are animated to be animated better and less just like still here, still there. It was like a better balance of how they did that, and I think showing that the animators do have a lot of talent there. It's just that they're kind of working with the restricted budget and such. But so, I mean, I think it's good, and it'll probably just get better as GWC's people are into it, kinda, and hopefully it will. But having said that, I'm saying it's good, but I would still say, like, don't subscribe.
Okay.
Not, like, unless like you really want that model or something or this or that, but ultimately it probably just makes more sense to wait a month or 2 and watch just all the content, because now it's just been like every Wednesday. So tomorrow there'll be another episode of Blood, I don't know, the Blood Angels thing. I don't even remember what it's called anymore. Angels of Death or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's Space Marines though, so
whatever.
It's not as cool as other things, but Gene Stealer cultists are in it, I suppose.
But they're probably not compelling.
They haven't been yet. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's mainly, though, at least in a couple of the episodes, it makes the Space Marines look untalented, like not good at waging war.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
Makes them.
I would expect nothing less.
So what happens when you breed a bunch of meatheads?
Just like we don't have the money or the staff to like actually have more animations here, so the Space Marines, they're just gonna fucking stand there and shoot. Because
the question is, when are we gonna get some more Starties? Come on.
That's true. Or even just putting the first one up there would be fine.
Not?
It's not.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Come on. You honestly believe
But I thought they bought it.
They did buy it, but it's not on there.
Oh my god, are they gonna like leak that? Be like, we're gonna put up one episode of the Starties this week, and like everyone's already seen it.
Yeah. Well, they probably won't credit.
That's not it.
They probably won't credit the people who did it. Yeah, so I don't know.
That was already up there. Shit.
It's not. I think it will it'll certainly go up there eventually, but who knows? Who knows?
Oh man.
Well, that's Games Workshop. That's Games Workshop.
I think I might have to take off.
Yeah, no.
I think we said the things we wanted to say. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really fun. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to us talk about things. Thanks Nick for joining us. So everybody stay healthy, stay safe, keep on enjoying the hobby.
Yep.
Till next time, over and out.
See you everybody.
Talk to you later.